Gaining the trust of your users is hard. Now, Collate makes it easier to understand the data quality coverage of your tables. Data quality tests help teams ensure that their data is behaving as expected. Creating new tests can be done directly from the UI, enabling your users to collaborate regardless of their technical expertise. Tests can be created at the table or column level. To create a new test, select your column, add the validation you need to make, and submit it. You can manage the test executions from the UI as well, and once you get the results, you can collaborate with your colleagues to solve the errors in the Incident Manager. In Release 1.5, we're bringing a new way to understand the state of your data by grouping the tests into different categories. With integrity tests, you can ensure your data remains correct throughout your transformation processes. For example, check the number of rows or see if an important column is still there. Accuracy tests guarantee that data properly represents the reality and is a trustworthy source of information. For example, data freshness, or ensuring that the number of orders stays above 0. Collate also allows your users to write their business logic as SQL queries. These custom SQL tests will fall inside the SQL category. With completeness, we can check if important data is missing from our tables. Measure duplicates thanks to uniqueness. And ensure our data follows our company's business rules with validity tests. For example, by creating regular expressions for our columns. Thanks to this new data quality dashboard view, gaining and maintaining your users' trust has never been simpler. Collate. Working with old data can lead to making wrong decisions. With the new freshness test, you can validate that your data arrives at the right time. You can create a test by jumping into the table tests and selecting table data to be fresh. Then, specify the column that contains the right time information and the maximum time you expect to have passed since the last update. For our example, we'll work with the order timestamp column. Note how today is the 8th of August, while the last known order is from 2 days ago. We have already created a couple of tests, one expecting the data to be refreshed daily and the other weekly. If we take a look at the daily one, it is indeed failing, since we know that more than 24 hours have passed since the last update. The weekly one, though, is happy since the data is still in our safety interval of time. It's hard to ensure data is always on time. However, now your team will know when it happens. Collate. Collate allows you to create tests directly from the UI. And some assertions are very easy to make, such as I don't want nulls or I don't want repeated values. Others require business or functional knowledge. For example, data shouldn't be older than 1 day, or data should be greater than 0. Although, what happens if our data is expected to evolve? How do we reason about the amount of cells behaving properly? In these cases, we want to know if unexpected spikes or drops are happening. We can either add bounds manually or dynamically learn from the data. By regularly profiling your tables, Collate will learn from your data and start assessing values dynamically. Thanks to Anomaly Detection, you can focus on your business and just be alerted when really needed. Happy testing, Collate. Open Metadata offers a rich set of data quality tests you can use out of the box. In Release 1.5, we are adding a new test to ensure your data remains consistent throughout your ETL processes. So far, we had support for testing the data within one specific table, checking the validity of your data, completeness, uniqueness, or even adding custom SQL tests for checking business rules. For this use case, let's imagine we want to track how our data is evolving from the orders table to the orders process table. Both tables are similar, but we might want to see if the status column remains the same. Before this release, there was not an easy way to compare the data between two different tables. This is why we are introducing the table difference test. With it, you can validate that multiple appearances of the same information remain consistent. You can choose which column to use as keys to identify the same record in both tables. Define which columns to look for mismatching data, or leave it empty to check them off, or even choose a threshold of mismatched rows before triggering a failure. Let's look at some examples. As you can see, in our consistency tests, we have comparisons both succeeding and failing. Our failing test only defines the key column in the table to use to compare, and there are certain records where the status column has been modified. Note that while the data difference test is available in open source, the failed rows sample belongs to the Collate offering. If instead of comparing all the columns, we only analyze the column ID, we can see how the test passes, as the values are the same in both tables. Checking the other passing test, we see that a simple filter on the data also allows us to get back to a successful state, since the mismatches only occur for certain rows. With the table difference test, you can now cover even more data quality use cases natively with open metadata, ensuring the consistency of your data every step of the way. Open metadata. With open metadata, we want you to be able to find the data that you need as quickly as possible. To help you do that, we have revamped the Explore panel to make it easier to navigate through your data. Clicking on any element of the tree will automatically populate the filters at the top bar. We also understand that different users have different needs. You can define user personas by going to Teams and User Management and selecting Personas. Here, you can add as many as you need to match the functions of your organization. Then, you can customize the landing page of each user persona to help them find out the information they are looking for. Go to Preferences and Customize Landing Page. Following the goal of finding the right data quickly, we have introduced the Data Asset widget, which will display your services directly on the landing page. With it, users can quickly explore by directly clicking on the technologies they are familiar with. With open metadata, all your data is just one click away. Open metadata. Dividing your data into domains can help you organize the assets that can be owned by multiple teams. In previous releases, we already added the ability to create domains, add assets to a domain, and sharing some of them as data products. With Release 1.5, we are introducing subdomains to give you more flexibility when organizing your data. On top of this, we are now adding RBAC controls to allow only users from a specific domain to visualize the data. Note that you can still use data products to showcase publicly consumable data assets. Organizing and securing your metadata has never been easier. Open metadata. Our vision at Open Metadata is to capture metadata from every part of the organization. With the API services, you can see a list of all the collections and endpoints available. Inside each of them, you can check both the request and response schemas, plus other key elements of metadata such as ownership, tiering, classification, and lineage. Now, you're one step closer to having full end-to-end root cause analysis, compliance, and observability on your data stack. Open metadata.